I never realized how much impulse buying was running my life, until one afternoon I checked my transactions and felt my stomach drop. It wasn't one big purchase that scared me. It was dozens of tiny ones, small comforts I grabbed without thinking, little rewards I told myself I deserved, moments of boredom or stress that turned into swipes and taps and instant gratification. And the worst part was how normal it had all felt. Like spending without intention had become part of my personality. That was the moment I told myself, Alex, you're done escaping through purchases. You're going to try something different. So I made a decision that felt both ridiculous and terrifying. I would stop impulse buying for 30 days. No small treats. No late-night browsing. No it's only a few dollars excuses. Just clarity and discipline and whatever uncomfortable emotions came with it. The first few days were honestly brutal. I didn't realize how automatic my spending had become. I'd walk past a cafe and instantly crave a drink I didn't need. I'd open my phone during a boring moment and my fingers would drift to shopping apps out of pure habit. It was like my impulses were louder than my actual thoughts, urging me to buy something just to feel a tiny spark of happiness. And every time I stopped myself, I felt this strange mix of irritation and pride. Irritation because it was inconvenient. Pride because it meant I was finally aware. My biggest wake-up call came on day 4. I was stressed after a long day, and all I wanted was to order something online just to relieve the pressure. It didn't matter what. I just needed the distraction. But then I caught myself, and I sat there feeling exposed. Because in that moment, I understood something I had ignored for years. I wasn't buying things. I was buying feelings, excitement, comfort, escape. And I couldn't outrun that truth anymore. So instead of buying anything, I sat with the discomfort, and it felt heavy, but honest. As the days went on, I started noticing patterns. How I reached for shopping whenever I was tired, lonely, bored, or doubting myself. How impulse buying had become my bandage for emotions I didn't want to face. Once I recognized it, everything shifted a little. I wasn't just stopping myself from spending. I was studying myself. I was understanding who I was underneath all the noise. But it wasn't smooth, not even close. There were small failures along the way, days when I convinced myself something was a necessary exception, moments where I added items to a cart just to look and almost hit checkout without thinking, times where I felt embarrassed by how restless I got when I wasn't buying anything. But each slip taught me something, and each realization pulled me back on track. And slowly, something beautiful started happening. The urges didn't vanish, but they weakened. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't living in reaction mode. I was making choices on purpose. I learned little tricks to stay grounded. I made a 48-hour rule for anything I wanted. I hid shopping apps in a folder I didn't check often. I wrote down items instead of buying them so I could revisit the list later. And most of the time, I realized I didn't actually want them. When day 15 arrived, I experienced something I didn't expect. Peace. I checked my bank balance and felt an unfamiliar calm. Usually it was guilt or confusion, but this time it was relief, because the numbers reflected a version of me who wasn't running on cravings anymore, a version who could pause and breathe before choosing. That was the moment I realized impulse buying wasn't about money. It was about attention, presence, emotional awareness. It was about noticing what I truly needed instead of grabbing what was convenient. And as the days passed, I felt lighter, not because I owned less, but because I wanted less. I started appreciating what I already had, the clothes I barely wore, the books I never finished, the small comforts that were enough once I allowed myself to see them. I found joy in things that cost nothing. Long walks, quiet mornings, cooking instead of ordering, sitting with my thoughts instead of escaping them. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt real. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel owned by my impulses. I felt in control. Day 30 arrived quietly. No big celebration, no dramatic transformation. Just a steady confidence I didn't recognize before, the kind that grows slowly, almost invisibly, until one day you look at your life and realize something inside you has shifted for good. I won't pretend I'll never impulse buy again. I'm human. I have weak moments, stressful nights, emotions that still get messy. But now I know the truth. And once you know the truth, you can't go back to pretending. I know why I buy when I buy what I'm trying to soothe and what I actually need instead. And that awareness is worth more than anything I used to add to my cart without thinking. So here I am, Alex Carter, still learning, still practicing restraint, still reminding myself that buying something is not the same as feeling something, and that discipline is its own quiet form of freedom. I'm not perfect, but I'm present. And that's already changing everything. I'm fixing my life little by little. And you can stay if you want to see how far I get.